Hi, this is Emily, and this is the M Dash. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if this is your first time, I'm really glad you landed here today. This podcast is a pause, a space to slow down, take a deep breath, tune in, and talk honestly about what it actually feels like to be human right where you are. Wherever you're listening from, you are welcome here. So let's dive in today. In my first episode, we talked about shoulda, coulda, woulda, and how easy it is to live in the past or the future. And in my second episode, we talked about patience and what happens when we give ourselves permission to slow down. And when I sat down with this episode, I realized something. Being where your feet are is actually really hard for a lot of us. Not because we don't want to be present, but because we're always looking for the escape. And that's what I want to talk about today. I don't think most of us need an escape. I think our nervous systems need relief. And this isn't about age or stage of life. This feeling doesn't belong to one season. It can show up in the classroom, in the kitchen, in offices and living rooms, sitting in traffic, or just sitting alone. Anywhere you're human and holding more than you have space for. I think we want relief from the pressure we are carrying or the constant feeling of being overwhelmed. We usually label it busy, but busy is often pressure without a pause. We want rest. We want space. We want to feel lighter. We want regulation. We want something to feel different. And what we often call escape is really just unmet needs asking for attention. When something feels off, our immediate instinct is to get out, to rush ahead, to distract ourselves, to plan the next thing. But sometimes all we actually need isn't to leave, it's just to listen. Escape doesn't mean something is wrong. It usually means something needs tending. There are literal escape rooms that you can go to, that you're locked in and you have to find clues to get out. These exist. You pay money to do this, but I promise you'll never find me there. But when I was reflecting on this, it hit me. What if we treated our minds like an escape room? Instead of asking, how do I get out of this? What if we asked ourselves, what feels heavy right now? What am I avoiding? What keeps showing up in my body or my thoughts? And instead of pushing those things away, what if we invited them in? Sometimes 5 or 10 minutes with pen and paper, no fixing, no solving, can tell you more than any escape plan ever could. So I invite you to grab a piece of paper, or if you just want to use the Notes app in your phone, and do a brain dump. And if you're driving right now, just come back to this later. But I promise this is an exercise you don't want to not do. Write everything down that feels heavy, everything you feel tension around, everything you keep wanting to get away from right now. Don't organize this and don't make it make sense. Just get it out. But most importantly, do not judge yourself. And we're going to come back to this. And if more comes through as you're listening today or even later, just keep that list going. Just let it exist. Because before we try to make sense of what we want to escape from, we have to talk about presence and why being present is actually an act of self-respect. And this is where presence matters, because how we stay with a moment says a lot about how we respect ourselves. We've been taught that choosing ourselves means checking out, getting away, waiting for the next thing, leaving the moment we're in. But choosing yourself can look like being at dinner with someone and actually being there, taking a walk and feeling your feet on the ground, staying in without guilt. Because the discomfort usually doesn't come from what we choose. It comes from when we choose something, but we mentally reject it. That's where exhaustion comes from. That's where resentment builds. And that's where we feel like life is passing us by. Because the discomfort usually isn't the moment, it's the resistance to it. Nothing is missing when you are where you choose to be. And I want to sit with that for a second. Because how often do we choose something, a dinner, a walk, a night in, time with someone, and then we mentally leave it? We scroll. We wonder what else we could be doing. We question the choice while we're still in it. And that's where the tension comes from, not the moment, the rejection of it. Presence isn't passive. It's an act of self-respect. If you choose to be there and someone chooses to be there with you, that's not a placeholder moment. That's a real exchange of energy. And the same thing applies if you took time for yourself, a moment for yourself. If you're trying to escape that, that's exchange of energy amongst yourself. Nothing else is calling you away except habit. The habit of picking up your phone to scroll. The habit of checking for a notification. The habit of letting your mind distract you from where you are and who you are with. And when something actually interrupts your day, you get to see the difference immediately. I had a moment that really brought this home for me. I was driving home last weekend from a work event at night. I do not like to drive at night, so I already had that anxiousness. And right when I told my daughter, I'll be home in a few minutes, those few minutes changed. The next thing I know, my tire pressure light came on, and it happened really fast. It went from 32 to 0 in the count of 5. No warning, no preparation. I didn't have time to check, scroll, analyze, or panic. I just handled it. I pulled off at the next safest exit, probably not the safest for what happened to the tire, but the safest for me. And I pulled in the first place I could and picked the first parking spot. I called an Uber and went home, and I rested, and I handled it the next day. The next morning, after my tire was fixed and I took it by the dealership, because I still had a notification, my car wasn't registering that I had a new tire. I guess the spare on my car doesn't get recognized in the system. So it said I had 3 tires, not 4. So I'm checking to make sure this is okay. Can I still drive on it? And as they're ordering the new tire, to calm me down, he lets me know, hey, remember when we didn't have this kind of technology? Do you remember when we didn't have those notifications? We just had to put air in our tires? Yeah, that's the moment I realized the presence. Technology is helpful. It's not the enemy, but it can't replace awareness. We didn't always have phones telling us where we were, what we were missing, or whether we arrived safely. Somehow, we still survived. The point isn't to reject the tools. It's not to let the tools pull us out of the moment we're already in. If someone chose to be with you, be there. If you chose the moment, honor it. Presence is how we honor the moment we chose, when we actually stay with it. When we are really there, we start to notice what is holding us up. And that's where gratitude comes in. Not as a way to fix anything, but as a way to steady ourselves inside the moment we are in. Gratitude isn't ignoring the hard thing, it's regulating yourself inside of it. A working car, a roof over your head, food to eat, heat or air conditioning, time with your friends or family, a quiet moment, being able to take a breath, being safe, having both feet on the ground. I don't use gratitude to bypass life. I use it to steady myself inside it. That's what brings you back to the present when your nervous system is activated. If today feels off, it doesn't mean you're failing. It might just mean you're tired. And tired people don't need to escape plans. They need care. Remember that piece of paper I mentioned a little earlier? If you wrote anything down, pull it back out. Now, etch next to each thing that you wrote down that is overwhelming you, wanting to make you escape, making you feel exhaustion, I want you to write one thing you're grateful for inside of it. Not because it's perfect, but because there's usually something holding you up, even in the middle of what feels heavy. Let's say you wrote down your job, but maybe the gratitude's in the paycheck or your health benefits for your family, or the fact that you get the flexibility to work from home. You're not denying the stress, you're just widening the lens. Sometimes gratitude doesn't change the situation. It changes your nervous system inside the situation. This is what kind of brings me to the thoughts of Wizard of Oz. Might sound random, but hear me out. When you think of Dorothy, you probably think of her ruby red slippers. The whole movie is about her trying to get somewhere else, somewhere better, somewhere safer, somewhere different. At the end, she realizes she had the ability to come home the whole time. Not because the journey didn't matter, but because everything she was searching for was already being built inside her along the way. I think we're a lot like that. So here's a simple challenge, not a rule, just an invitation. The next time you're at dinner or enjoying the company of someone, try putting your phone away. If you're with someone, really be with someone. If you were on a walk, feel the air on your skin. Notice each step you take, maybe even the color of the sky. What's around you? Whether you're in a big city or a quiet neighborhood park, just practice being where you are, where your feet are. Because presence isn't about doing more. It is about arriving. The real emergencies get your attention. The rest is usually just habit. And habit is something we can notice without shaming ourselves. Exhaustion will disguise itself as frustration, irritability, and impatience if you don't listen to it. There is no magic in leaving faster. The clarity comes from staying long enough to understand what you're reacting to and why your mind wants out. Presence is how you choose yourself inside the choice you already made, and that choice can still be honored. So before you wish this moment away, before you rush ahead or check out, ask yourself, am I trying to escape? Or am I trying to come back to myself? Because sometimes staying isn't settling, it's listening. And you're always allowed to come back. Now, before I close out today, I want to leave you with a blessing of coming back. May you stop searching for the exit long enough to notice where you already are. May you remember that wanting relief does not mean your life is wrong, only that something inside you is asking for care. May you give yourself permission to stay with the moment you chose, to let your feet feel the ground beneath them, to trust that nothing meant for you is being missed when you are fully here. May gratitude steady you, not as a way around what's hard, but as a way to stay with it, softening your body, widening your breath, bringing you back home to yourself. And when you feel the urge to escape, may you pause and ask gently, what needs my attention right now? You are allowed to stay. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to come back again and again. Thank you for being here. This is Emily, and this is the M Dash. You are always welcome here.